Hello, my crafty friends. It's Marie from Marie's Vermont Creations, and today is my third project for my Halloween card series. And this is a quick and easy treat holder. I am going to be using the Hershey Nuggets. I'm going to fit 4 of them into this little treat holder. So my panel of cardstock, which is a dark gray, is 4.5 by 4. And so I'm just going to put it in my score pal, and I'm using my prototype to remember where I scored it at. And so I added a score line at 7/8 and again at 2 7/8. And so this gives me, a pretty good little area so that I can fold this, and it makes like a little book. And so I'm just going to fold and score on those 2 score lines, just using my hands. And so I'll show you here, it gives you this little book, and then I cut a piece of pattern paper from my stash that was slightly smaller than the front of this panel, and I'm just using some tape runner so that I could adhere that to the front of this. And once I get that adhered down, lined up, of course crooked to begin with, and so I'm able to pull it back up before it is really stuck down so that I can fix it and make sure that it's on there straight. So once I do that, I believe I'm going to wrap my candies, but let me double check and make sure that I don't move on to something else. And I did show some of that Distress Oxide ink in Carved Pumpkin beforehand, and I didn't end up using it. So I took some pattern paper, which is double-sided, from my stash, and these are cut to 1 inch by, I believe, 3 inch. And I am adding it to the very end of the pattern paper. If I was to do this again, I would add the adhesive right to the nugget wrapper so that they don't slide out. But I'm going to do 2 of them with one side of the paper, and then the other 2 I will use the reverse side. So some of them have like a, I'm not quite sure what you would call the pattern, and the other one has like a chevron, so it's a little white and orange. These are very old papers. I believe they're from Stampin' Up, so I've had them in my stash for a while. So you can use whatever pattern paper that you like. It doesn't have to be double-sided. So once I get the wrappers all adhered down onto here, I'm just finishing up the last one. And I've done a couple of other treat holders. I can link to one of the ones I did for it, also the Hershey Nuggets. I have the set that you can set them in. It comes with like they almost look like shaker pouches, but it's meant to hold the nuggets. I have a video with that, and I can link that at the end of this one. So now I have all of those, so I did alternating for each one. And then from a stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, I'm going to take this pumpkin image, and I originally stamped it in the Carved Pumpkin, as you can see up there, but it just was a little washed out for me, so I am going to stamp it with the VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink, and then I will use some colored pencils from my stash. I just basically used an orange, a brown, and a green to color this in, and I do off-screen end up taking my sand eraser to clean up some of the smudging that I had and then color it back in, because I, of course, didn't wait for this ink to dry, or I didn't heat set it. You could also heat emboss it with clear embossing powder if you wanted to trap that ink to make sure that it was dry and that you didn't have any smudges. Do as I say, not as I do. I never learned until I smudge it, and I'm like, why? Why did I do that? But just quick and easy coloring, nothing fancy going on here. You could use your alcohol markers, but again, make sure that your ink is dry and that is an alcohol safe ink if you decide to go with that color medium. And so now that I've got the orange all done, I'm just going to color in the stem really quick, and then there's one leaf at the top. And I just fussy cut these out. I don't have dies for any of this, but off screen I just quickly cut around it. Nothing, too drastic to get cut out. It's pretty simple shape. And then I am going to take a trick-or-treat stamp set, a trick-or-treat stamp from the stamp set that I used with the pumpkin, and just stamp that down with my black ink and trim it out. And then I will adhere some double-sided adhesive to the back of each nugget and line them up inside of the treat holder so that they will sit nicely. 4 of them fit beautifully in here. You could adjust it to make them shorter if you wanted to do just 2 nuggets or 3. You could definitely, adjust the height of the pattern or the paper that you use. And then once I get those, nestled in there, I'm going to use the same double-sided tape and adhere the pumpkin and the sentiment to the front. So these are something that you could customize to any occasion. It doesn't necessarily have to be Halloween. You could do them for Valentine's Day, birthdays, any different things. And then to take my pictures, I ended up taking a glue dot and adhering it to one of the nuggets so that I could close the lid. You could also add in some ribbon to tie it closed if you wanted to get really fancy, but these are for my nieces and nephews and they're going to throw them away. So I hope that you liked today's project, and as always, I hope that you have a great day.